My name is Apolline Traoré and I'm from Burkina Faso in West Africa. And I'm the director of the film Moi Zaphira, which is showing at the Cascade Festival of African Film. I went to school in Boston. I did my bachelor's there for film. It's true that in the beginning, when I was growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I was going to be in film. But what in film, I didn't really know until I went to college. And so when I graduated from there, from Boston, I moved to LA, which I worked a little bit first at MGM. That was my first internship. Didn't really like it because I was in the office and I wanted to be on the set. And then I work with independent filmmakers, and then I moved again to New York. And at one point, I'm like, I want to go home. I wanted to make stories about my country, about my continent. And in 2005, I decided to go. So when I got there, actually, I showed my first film, my student film at the FESPACO, which is a big film festival in my country, in 2001. And I won the jury prize, and which I didn't really know what FESPACO was until I got there. And in 2005, I decided to come back home. And from that on, I've been doing some television series and short film, and this is actually my second feature film. So this is basically my route. I'm a drama queen. Everything that I do, it's about drama. But I've been called sometimes a feminist, which I don't understand why. But it's true that my main character is usually a woman, and I usually talk about women subject or kids. But I always said to the people that actually call me a feminist that I don't get men right now. I don't get them. I rather make a film that I can control the aspect of the human that I'm talking about, which I'm a woman, so I understand more. I haven't quite understood what a man is about. So I'm taking my time, and I'll get there. But this is the type of movie that I make. It's drama. I don't think I'm capable to make people laugh, but weirdly, a lot of people have laughed in my film at a certain point, and then they cry. So my film is really about dramatic themes and women and children. So I'm on that type of story right now. Maybe it will change when I get a little wiser. I'll go to the deeper stuff, maybe. The challenges of being an African filmmaker, now it's better for me. I remember when I think because I had two different cultures, I actually studied film here in America, and everything goes very, very fast over here. At home, we have another culture. Everybody is lazy. When I say lazy, it's not in a bad sense, but we take time to do everything. And you have to understand that it's very hard in my country. You can move very, very fast. So when the heat goes hard, you just want to go to bed. You know what I mean? So I had that experience here in America. And then when I got home, in the beginning, it was very difficult. I don't think it was because of my background. I just think that it was because I was young, and then I was a woman. Because I remember my first set, when I got there, it was a television series that I wanted to do. Most of the people on the set were much older than me, and I have to direct, I have to give direction. And they got frustrated because they were like, who's that little girl who's talking to us like that? And I had to be very strong to show them this is not about age, this is not about anything you can think of, this is about my work. And of course, the men are the powerful image in our society, and those men that I was working with, like my first assistant or my DP, they could be my fathers. And then I had to give directions, and sometimes they'll get frustrated and they'll say, oh, no, we can't do that, we're gonna do that. And I'm like, no, I'll fire you. And I actually fired somebody. And I think after I fired this great actor who actually was helping me because he knew the environment and all of that, and he was doing some sneaky stuff, and I actually fired him. That's when everybody started respecting me, because they felt that I dare this man, you know what I mean? And after that, I had a chance to meet one of our greatest filmmakers, Idrissa Ouedraogo, who actually took me under his wings, and he showed me how to work in the country. He showed me what to do and what not to do. And in the beginning, I was getting very, very frustrated because everything was going so slow. I was like, you guys, what is this? We have to go. And I think that I was taking the culture that I got from America, and I was trying to impose to them in Africa, in my country, and it wasn't working. So I had to take a lot of time to understand that this is the way they work, and then I have to not become like them, but slowly also show them that we can go a little bit faster, even if the heat is very high, and because we're saving money. It's easy to say, okay, it's too hot, we can't shoot. And just let it go. So for that part, I think it's my age that was very difficult for me in the beginning. And then as a woman, I really didn't have that experience of having problem because I'm a woman. I think it's after when I showed my subject. Then, as I said in the beginning of the interview, people were thinking that I'm a feminist. I always talk about put the woman higher, and then I put down the men. So that was those talks that were coming sometimes, and I didn't really care. And I'm like, if you're talking about it, I'm doing something good. I remember one of my short film that I did. It's called Kunandi, and where one of the actresses were telling to the king that her husband was impotent. And I remember at the end of the screening, like, men would come to me, how can you say that? There is no African men impotent, and even if they are, you can't talk about it. Who are you to talk about it? You're a woman. And you don't need to argue with them because it's not gonna go anywhere. You just laugh. And I was proud of that. So every time I would make a film, and of course I'm talking about the woman, and even though there were a great role of a man in the film, they will always see those little things that I talk about men, and they'll pick it up and they'll come to me about this. You can't do that, you can't say that, you're a woman, you don't know anything about us. So this probably, as an African filmmaker, a woman, those are the little things that I will encounter, but other than that, I think I've been lucky. Benefit of being an African filmmaker, I think that there's so many things as a woman that women actually will open up to you better than a man, you know? There's a lot of things that I've done in my past film that I will go to a village and then I'll approach the woman, and of course they're not supposed to say certain things because their husband are there, or the chief is saying you cannot talk about certain things, and then you spend a lot of time with them and they start opening up, you know. And being a woman is I think it helps a lot because they will trust you more than a man who's coming to act certain things. On that point, yes, but I have you know, a lot of people will say sometimes, and I hear that a lot lately, that a woman filmmaker is easier now for you to make film because you're a woman, and then everybody's trying to push gender, and I'm like, this is not true. I think I fight as more as you to find money, and even if I'm making film right now, I have a way to make film, you know. If I decide to make a film, I will just take the small thing that I have and I'll make a film, but that doesn't make it easier for me because I'm a woman. And I've been hearing that lately, that especially in Burkina, there's a lot of African women director. I'm like, no, there's not a lot. And maybe because I make a film today and another woman will make a film tomorrow, you feel that we're getting the chances. But if you are balancing, there's 20 men and there's 2 or 3 women, and those 2 women, if they make a film, you're taking at something big. I mean, if we want to compare, there's not a lot of us. So it's not because we are getting, it's easier for us to make film, but it's just, there's very few of us. A lot of people, I mean, when I present a film, people will ask me where the inspiration came or things like that, and I can never remember. It's bad, huh? I can never remember. I think I've been dreaming so much since I'm a little girl that every time that an idea will come to my head, it will just click like that. From when I'm watching TV and I'm talking to someone, and an idea would just blossom from my head. And I can remember at what point when it happened. All of my other films, although this one, Moi Zaphira, it's kind of my own personal story that I actually changed a little bit and exaggerated it, because a lot of things in the film, I talked about the UN giving food to Africa. I've seen it. I talk about other things, and the main story about the film is about a mother imposing to her daughter what to do. And this is actually coming from my experience, because my father never wanted me to do filmmaking. He completely said no when I graduated from high school, and it was a battle to convince him, because for him filmmaking was, I don't have any future of it, and it was school. You go to school, you have a diploma, you get a job, and you have a paycheck at the end of the month, and this was a job for him, and filmmaking for him was not something that he will call a job. So for me to convince him to pay for film school was very difficult, and after fighting for a couple of months, and he was paying for it. I mean, if I said no, he was just, okay, I'm not paying for it. And I had to find a way to convince him. And at one point I told him, he told me to actually find another degree. Do whatever you want, and then you'll have a degree. If you have that degree, and then I'll pay for film school. And so if film doesn't work out, you have something to fall off. So I went to hotel management. I did that. And then when I got my degree, I sent it to him. And that's when he actually agreed to pay for filmmaking. So this movie is a little bit about that idea of parents. And we don't have, most African children don't have anything to say when the parents decide what you're gonna do. They're the one who's paying for it, so you don't have a say. And this is actually a glimpse of that we see at home. Sometimes the kid really knows what they want and really knows what route they're gonna take, and it's good to guide your children, but at the same time it's very important also to listen. And I was lucky to be able to convince my father, but there's like a million of kids right now, they did what their father have said or their mother have said to do. So for that particular film, yes, it was inspired of my own story, but the other film that I've done, to tell you the truth, I have no idea. It's all fiction, it's all, I invented them, and then slowly it comes into life, and I bring something dramatic. Festivals like this is extremely important to us, because it's extremely difficult to show our film outside of Africa. And when you make a film like that, your first priority is for it to be seen. And of course, we haven't made a lot of great film, and I think cinema is a very, very powerful media to show your culture, to tell people what you feel and what you want to say. And the festival like that in America is an opportunity for us to actually show our film, and then also share with America who we are and what we are capable of. I've been to countries where people never heard of my country, and it's because those festivals brought me in, and I actually was able to show those films that they actually learned something. Even if they didn't like the film, who cares? But they've known what Burkina Faso, what is Burkina Faso? That was the first thing, and then where it was. So this was something very important. So the festival like Cascade is extremely important to us African filmmakers, because first of all, it will take you out of the continent, and then it will give us the opportunity to share our culture and to discuss with Americans what is it like to be in our country, what is it like to be in our position, and then so we have the opportunity to actually see the film that are here, and then give them also the opportunity to see what we are about over there. And for most people that are actually never traveled, and if we are able to bring our culture to them through our film, it's something fantastic. It's actually one of the first festivals that I've been to, and I was just taken care of like a baby. Because most of the time you go to festival, there's so many people, it's so crowded. Like, of course, the committee or the organization, you don't even see them. There's extras, or what you call them, volunteers that will help you out, and you are by yourself. And then for this festival, the Cascade Festival of African Film, I was very, very well welcomed, and really taken care of, and going through every demand that I have gone to. And this is very important, because sometimes when you get to a festival, as I said, and especially that you don't know the country, you don't know the city, you don't know what to expect, and everybody's running around because they have schedule to do, and then you're kind of lost. And you have to be very, very strong and to get what you want. And for this festival, I mean, I think that I'm a queen right now, because I've been taken care of, and everything that I've been asking has been given to me. So I think this is very important to us, because you feel welcome, and you want to participate. You want to give everything that you can do also to promote the festival, to help the best that you can for the festival to continue growing, because they're giving us the opportunity to show our film. So we have the obligation to also help them promote what they're trying to promote, which is African films. If I have to describe to a fellow filmmaker about the Cascade Festival of African Film, I would say it's a very warm festival, because they're very welcome, and everything is very, very, very well programmed. I had all my schedule like 2 weeks earlier, before even I got there. I got here. What else? I'm looking forward for my screening. I've seen that there's been a lot of promotion already done at the radio station already. So what I need to say is just whatever a filmmaker needs, they will get that on this festival. And the first thing for me when you get to a festival is to help the promotion of your film. And if that is done, and if the condition of your screening is done, I think you want it all. I think this is the first thing that you look in for a festival. And this festival gave that to me. The festival is wonderful. It's been very, very tough for me. Seriously, very, very difficult, because all the film that I've made, I've never had money to do it. I just believed in it, and then I had a crew that believed in me, and then we just went for it. Because I just didn't want to wait for the traditional money that you have to file for, and then you'll wait for 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get it. So the conditions were really, really tough. I remember for this one, for Moi Zaphira, I had just sold the television series that I did, and I actually bought a lot of lighting equipment that I rent usually, and I had rented to this big production that we're having in one country. And with that money, I'm like, you know, instead of just waiting 2 years again, I haven't done a feature film for the last almost 10 years, because the last one was in 2005. I'm like, can we go? And I called the crew that I've been working with for the last 10 years, and I said, you know what, I don't have any money. The only thing that I can do for you, I can give you shelter and I can give you food. And the other thing, I just can't, you know, are you willing to go for it? And they were. So we left the city, and then we went to the village where the film was going to be shot. And it was a difficult but wonderful experience, because we were so tight and we were so close together that we were able to make the film. But the condition, like the weather was bad, because it was raining all the time. Sometimes we'll come to the set from 6 o'clock in the morning until 4 p.m. it's raining, because the region, that village is where it actually rains a lot. And I actually needed to shoot that in the rainy season, because the film is in black and white, and I needed, I won't say green, but I needed the trees to be filled with, so that it can actually fool my screen. Because if you have black and white and everything is dry, I don't know what you're showing. So I needed that. So that was a big challenge to kind of work with the weather. And of course, we had only 3 weeks to shoot the film, because I think I have like 40 people on the set that I had to feed and take care of. But of course, and I gave them a little bit. I will call it per diem because this is not a salary. I cannot even tell you how much I gave them, but. And I think that's the great thing about filmmaking. If you really believe in your project and you really believe in what you're about to do, people will follow. And I have the chance because I've been working with the same people for the last 10 years. So they know my work and they know how I work. And then they know that if I have the budget, I will put it into the film. So in certain circumstances, when we don't have the budget, they'll say, we'll just go. But, and it's great, but sometimes when you're shooting, my heart just breaks sometimes when I look at them and I'm like, I cannot offer them much, and I see them from 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we shoot the entire day and then we cross through the night, and sometimes we stay there until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we've been up since 5. And but they're just going, and that is how you feel love. But at the same time, sometimes it's heartbreaking that you cannot do much. Yeah. My next film, my next film is very ambitious, and I'm really scared of going back again and to just take the little money that I have and just trying to do it. But I think that I will give myself probably a year to do the best that I can do to actually be able to pay my crew much more than this film. I just don't want to take them again. But it's a different story this time. Well, again, it's about women, but hey, what can we do? But it's a different story, but I won't tell the story, but it's a road movie. It's a road movie. It's about 3 women that will actually cross most of West Africa and encounter certain things in their lives. So it's something that I really, really want to do. I already have my actresses. I already have the entire story. What I'm looking for is money. I think the biggest thing that I always want the audience to have at the end of each of my films is to think. And continue talking about it. Most of the film that I made, I usually have an opening ending. I never close a subject. Rarely I will close a subject. So if you look at my work, a lot of time people hate my endings. But this is what I love about the work that I do, to finish a story without telling my point of view about the story that I just gave you, that to give you the opportunity to make the ending the way that you want to make the ending. And I think that this is the type of filmmaking that I like. This is the type of filmmaking that I've been doing. And if the only thing that, even if they don't like the story, at the end, they're like, what happened here? I think I won. I don't feel that they're really supporting it because there's a festival. Okay. FESPACO is something big in my country. FESPACO is very big in Africa. And I think that because of FESPACO, our government should put money in our film. I didn't get money for my film, and a lot of fellow filmmakers never really got money for our film. And then because of that, I think that they should really help us out, and it hasn't been happening. And we've been fighting for years so that the government can actually put money and help us out. And I know that like FESPACO is every 2 years, and probably 3 or 4 months before FESPACO, the government will say, oh, who has a film? Who has a film? Because Burkina has to be represented. And then probably they'll help you out to finish your film. But now I think we've pushed it so much that it's starting. I think they're listening to us. And I hope that for the years to come, they will actually give us a budget to help us, because it's so difficult to make a film, to actually help us make our film. So yes, FESPACO is there. It promotes cinema, African cinema, but for Burkina Faso, we really don't have much help for our country to make films, no. I think the film, it's actually the mind of the main actress, the main character in the film, that she doesn't understand what being a model is. She doesn't understand the importance of being a doctor. She has this mind she's looking for beauty. That's all it is. Even if she chose for her daughter to be a model just because she saw something in a magazine. It's not that because she wanted her daughter to be something else, because she saw beauty, and that was it was presented to her as a beautiful African woman in a beautiful dress and who's posing. And of course, she hates her environment, and she thinks that everybody in the village is lazy. And when you watch the film, it's not about being a model. It's just about her being something different that she'd been seeing in the country, in her village. Yeah, it's really about that. It's not really about modeling or being a doctor. She has something in her head, and she thinks, of course, because she will do everything for her daughter, like sacrifice herself for her daughter to become what she's seen in those magazines. And she has no idea what being a model is, what it encounters. She's just looking for beauty. My father is educated. The film, she's not educated. She doesn't read, she doesn't write, she doesn't know anything. And then it's her idea of what beauty or what is better for her daughter that she just goes, and then she will oblige her daughter to do it. The difference between her and, for example, my father is very well educated. He's been to college, he's been to all of those places, but at the same time, for him, it went overboard as saying that this is the way you should be. You have to have like a real job, a real diploma, and then you will have a real job and then have a salary. Opposite to this woman who has no idea, she doesn't read, she's not educated. At the same time, she says, because of what educated people have shown her what beauty is about, she said, okay, let me follow that because this is the way. You know what I mean? So it's those two comparisons that I'm making compared to my father, who was a very well-educated man, and then took filmmaking as something really low, and this is not, so you're not supposed to do that. And then to this woman who doesn't know anything, and because of a magazine that is showing, like an educated woman would have read it and then understood what is it exactly, but she had to give to her daughter to read what was under those women and then translate it to her. So it's really ignorance, but it's just about the physical beauty that she just saw.
Just from watching the trailer, it looks really beautiful for digital, especially in black and white. I feel like black and white can sometimes give away digital in a way that color doesn't.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to hear you talk about, like what you needed, like moisture on the trees, was it, so that it would, so that the light would pick up in the black.
Yes.
And in the trailer, I saw that just the magazines were in color, and so I was just curious how that decision informed the narrative. Like, why did you choose to make it in black and white, and then why did you choose to, just have those bits of color in the magazine? Yes,
the choice was really early when I started writing, because I was looking for a way, when the film is introduced with her eyes, and she starts talking about how bad she's feeling in the place that she is. And then for me, the black and white, if you take black and white compared to color, black and white there's no color, there's no fun. And then of course color has all this life. And for me, it was a way to portray her bad being, about how she's not feeling good, she doesn't like where she is, everything is ugly to her, everybody is lazy. So we are seeing the movie through her eyes. And then she encountered this magazine, and this magazine becomes her Bible. A magazine becomes what is the future for her. So that's why I actually use what we call rotoscoping, to actually keep the magazine in color, to show what she's seeing, because around her she sees dirt, she sees laziness, she sees ugly thing, and the magazine is the only beauty that she's seeing, and that's what she represent. This is whatever her life is become, and she will follow everything that the magazine will say to transform her daughter. So that is why it's actually her mind that I'm trying to portray in the visual aspect of the film. I don't really know where it's coming from, seriously, because I think that from like very young, I always wanted to do something. When I was growing up, I remember at dinner table, I was invent a story, and then everybody was laughing or everybody was crying, and I think from the early age, I had that. And actually, the no of my father came late. And I think I would have he would have discouraged me, or he would have pushed me away from my dreams if he had taken me seriously. Because when I was growing up until college, I was saying, I think I want to be an actor. I think I want to work in film. I didn't really know where exactly in the film industry I would be. No one would take me seriously. My father wouldn't take me seriously. So every time I was talking, it was like, oh, whatever. It's when I graduated and then that big no came. And I think that if he had taken me seriously early on, he probably would have pushed me away, and then I was going to start thinking, oh, maybe I'm dreaming, maybe I'm too young, maybe, or something. And lucky for me, it was that when I was entering college, that he was like, no, I thought you were joking. I thought this was a little phase, you know, and I'm like, no, you know. And then I was lucky than that. And the beginning of me wanting to do that, I don't even know where it's coming from, because I didn't grow up with people in that industry around me. I didn't grow up in my country, for FESPACO. I really don't know where it's coming from. I think it's just the idea of sharing what I'm dreaming about, because I always dream, I always invent stuff, and just the possibility to share whatever crazy thing I have in my mind. I think it's just the most wonderful thing that have ever happened to me, that I actually was able to find film. And I think that it's not really about film, that I just went into film, and I think it was just the media that were presented to me to be able to share whatever was going on in my head. I think that's the way I went into film. And I think that if there was another media more excited, or something else that I was actually able to visualize, because that's the thing. Everything that is going in my head, writing doesn't make it. Like, for example, I hate writing. Like sitting down and doing that thing, I just really hate it. And I just get my life, everything just lights up when whatever I thought in my head, I see it on the screen. It was just something, a feeling that I can explain. And I think it was just the media there that will help me, you know, share whatever I had in my head. And I think that's the way I went into film. It wasn't just something particular. And also, I should say that when I was in college, there is this great filmmaker that really inspired me. I don't know if you know him. His name is Krzysztof Kieslowski. He's originally from Poland, and he did some film like Bleu, Blanc et Rouge. He did the Ten Commandments, and he has this really particular ability to take something so simple. Like Bleu, Blanc et Rouge is the color of the French, comment on dit ça? Flag. Thank you. The flag. And then you make a story out of that. He made 3 stories out of the the white, the blue, and the red, you know? And now he takes each commandment, and he makes 10 films out of each commandment. And then what are you going to expect when you say you should not kill? You will expect someone who had a story and then you shouldn't kill or whatever. But he will transform it. And I think I was so amazed out of that, how he can take something simple, something so regular of every day, and he will make it so dramatically. And I think I was amazed about his work when I was in school. And I think I got a little bit influenced by him, by his work, and going into film. And I think because of him also, I got a little bit structured. Because as I said, I didn't go into film because I knew film exactly. It was just for me a way to show whatever I wanted to show. And then this filmmaker actually he constructed a little bit what I was doing and what line I was going to take. Usually I would not tell a story if I don't have it completely detailed in my head. This is one of the weird stuff about me. I have the beginning, I have everything detailed, everything that goes. I usually don't sit down and I start writing a little bit and then I wait and I think and I start writing. I usually don't do that. I really have like from beginning detail until the end, and then I start pouring out. And I think that's the process that I don't like writing, because when I start writing, I feel that it's going so slow because my head is just like going. And so for this film, I just call him, he's a good writer, I guess. He hasn't done a lot of great films, but he knows how to put the good words down. So I called him and I started telling him the story, and he started writing and writing and writing. So that's the way actually we wrote the script. Even the dialogue, I say the dialogue, this person says that, and he started writing. And then when he had the entire script, the first draft, then he takes it back, and then he rewrites it and to put better word that I actually said. So that's the way the collaboration came. So when I take a writer in, it's usually not to give me ideas or to change my story. I usually have, and I'm pretty rough about changing my story. That's another thing, because everything is in my head and it's difficult for me to change it. And of course, when after the first draft and then you corrected it and you give it to me and I started writing, then I started make correction and change this and change that. So this is actually the process that I'm doing. I wish I tried it several times. It just doesn't work. Like to sit down and start putting ideas, I get lazy very, very easily. I have to get everything in my head before I start writing. Everything has to be in there. Until, of course, something will inspire me. I'll change this and that, but most of the time I have my entire story in the head. I think the first advice I will say is first passion. You have to be very passionate about this industry, because if you're not, it's going to be very, very difficult. I remember this question was asked in my country one day, and a lot of people, even student or not even student, want to get into the business just because they want fame or they want money. And I said, this is the wrong road. And I had said to those people one day, because that question was asked once, I mean, they was asking me to give advice, and I said, and I will say it again, if you are willing to wake up one morning and you're looking for 1 cent in your couch so you can eat, and you're okay with that, go into filmmaking. If you're not, don't go there.